street. Music in your mind, so take a seat. The Al Rocker Show. The Al Rocker. The Al Rocker Show. The Al Rocker Show.
Thank you for tuning in to the Al Rocker Show. We have comedian Grossman, we got Dave Lawson, and we have Amanda Edwards today. How you doing, Miss Edwards?
I'm doing great.
Great. Good. Dave, you got anything?
No, well, I thought you should have said the beautiful Miss Amanda Edwards.
Well, I didn't want to say it because she's running for office.
I know.
There you
but-
go.
Yeah,
Look
see?
at him.
See?
He's on his PC.
Yeah,
Politically correct.
There you
He's
go.
a cute
But you know,
guy.
I still find that crazy.
Why?
I still find that crazy. If someone says something that's just a compliment, you know, it's just a compliment. It's not.
No.
You
It's
don't
not the Me Too
introduce-
movement.
You wouldn't introduce a male politician and say the handsome, would you?
Yeah, if it was Denzel. If it was Denzel, you would say
He
the
ain't gonna
handsome Denzel Washington. Okay,
I wouldn't do
maybe
that.
I think you're outvoted on this one.
I think
Okay.
so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so too. But anyway, man. So Amanda, a lot of people know you as an attorney, a community leader. But who is Amanda Edwards in your own words in this campaign?
You know, what I would say actually with this campaign and just with what I represent, I'm the people's candidate.
Okay.
I am somebody who is not coming in as an establishment candidate. I'm someone who's coming in from the ground up with the community. I've been doing the work for years in the neighborhoods, in the communities, before I got elected, after I got elected, and since then. And I think what's been very, very consistent has been that I have been able to deliver real results for people in their lives. And that came from when I was growing up. I learned at a very early age that public service and all this stuff, it has to be about people. It can't be about just who's in the front of the line or who has the name placard or the swivel chair, you wanting a committee appointment or a title. It can't be about that. It's got to be about really serving people. When I was growing up, when I was about 10, my father got very sick with something called multiple myeloma. And it took his life when I was a teenager. And so I watched that whole situation play out. I would ask my dad, well, what would happen if the insurance company, what if they said no to all the life-saving treatments my dad needed? Right. And I remember my dad answering me and just saying, well, we would just have to figure something else out if they do. And I just thought, and I was young, that's crazy. You know, we should have a system in place that doesn't just leave people to their own devices. Yeah. We should have a system in place that helps save lives, help keep families like ours together. Thankfully in my dad's case, I mean, although he did die, he was able to surpass his life expectancy because the insurance company did say yes in some life-saving treatments that he needed. So
what is this disease that you...
Multiple myeloma is a very...
myeloma?
Yes, it's called multiple myeloma. It's a very aggressive form of cancer. At that time, and at that time, there was not a lot of, it's not the diagnosis you want to have in terms of treatment options. And so he was having to really try to push the envelope to stay around longer. But he doubled his life expectancy, even though it wasn't that long. But I think about the years I had him in high school, I might have lost him a lot sooner had he not doubled his life expectancy. Wow. And think about the lessons learned from something like that. So that from an early age made me kind of serious about this stuff. So when I see people just rolling around and thinking about politics as just politics rather than the people whose lives are being impacted by the decisions we make and the systems we create or choose not to create, that's what it needs to be about. And I think that's why I have the trust of the community, because they know I get it. And because I get it, that's why I deliver in the way that I do. That's why you can go to some areas of town and you can see the housing I've helped to rebuild, or, you can see the products of my work, because I take it very seriously that people are counting on you to get this right and not exploit them just for a vote, because they're used to that, right? Like, I remember when Harvey struck, I was on city council, and it was crazy because I got a call to check on some seniors. I found out that a lot of our senior citizens, they were cleaning up their houses, so they would mop up the floors and stuff. But then you'd ask them, what are you doing about the walls? Because it had flooded, and they would just look at me and say, well, the walls are dry. And I know you can't leave those walls in. You got that's going to be mold.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I mobilized hundreds of volunteers, and we just started going door to door in areas where we knew it was going to be high concentrations of lower income seniors who might not have access to the help that they needed to get those walls removed. And when I would do that, every time I'd step on the doorstep and they'd answer the door, they'd look at me and they say, "What are you doing here?" And I say, "Well, I'm your city council member. I'm here to help."
Oh, wow.
But of course,
Yeah.
I'm here. It's at that time, Harvey, this was after Harvey. It was the second worst disaster in U.S. history at that time.
Wow.
And so, of course I'm here, right? It's what I'm thinking. And then they'd ask me, "But wait a minute, are you up for re-election already?" It's in the immediate aftermath of the storm, and people are asking me if I'm running for re-election because they could not fathom their elected official standing on their doorstep
because
and
that's
not
been the
needing
history.
something from them.
Yeah.
That's the history. You don't see them until it's time to get a vote. Then they show back up, and so you started there.
Yeah, it was completely, and that's crazy, right?
They thought you was a Jehovah's Witness at the door.
We have to be about more than just showing up and knowing your name when it's campaign season. But then we get in these offices and we get amnesia when it comes to your issues. And we forget about all of the campaign promises that were made in these wonderful porch conversations that we have. We forget about those.
Yeah.
And it becomes business as usual. That sector of the population, they get disengaged as a result of that. They become distrustful. People come and make promises and never keep them. And I think, to be honest with y'all, that's part of what's going on right now with the disconnect in the non-voting population that we have who should be voting democratically. But a lot of people, not all people, I think, we can break down what happened with the presidential election with Kamala Harris, because I do think there were issues stemming from misogyny to racism to differences on policy, but also there was some disconnect from just people feeling as though, why should I vote if nothing ever changes here?
Right.
And so that right there, I pick up on.
That?
Yeah, because I actually have the track record of those results. It did change here. I can show you. And so when I go out in the community, they say, "Oh, that's that lady that rebuilt my uncle's house." And they'll be able to say that. And so that's an example of it can be different. It doesn't have to just be you getting exploited. If you put the right kind of servant leaders in, ones that have understanding like I do, that this is about people and not about politics, number one. Number two, people who are capable of delivering results. You got a lot of well-intentioned people out there, but they don't necessarily have the skills and the know-how to get the job done. And I'm somebody with a long track record. Whether it's housing. When I got on council, I started the city's technology and innovation task force because I learned we were so far behind in venture capital investment for startups. We couldn't keep a startup here to save our lives. We came up with strategies. I started a task force. We went all over the country, came up with strategies, recommendations. One of those things included creating the innovation district. So if y'all seen the ION,
Yeah, the Ion.
that's the product of our work.
Yeah, because I know at the end of the day with the Ion being, I have an office on Claiborne, the building next to it.
Yeah,
And I found out recently you was a part of putting that together.
Yeah, and it's people who have to be able to have a bold vision and know how to connect the dots so they can come to fruition.
Yeah.
And I've got a wide array of things like that and things like the housing and all of the things in between, stuff for small businesses. Minority small businesses have real extreme challenges here in Houston.
Yeah.
And so I've developed done a lot of work around that as well. So with me, they don't get to say, "Oh, well, what has she done?"
Yeah. Right.
I've done quite a bit.
Yeah, you've done a lot.
And we need people in who have that can inspire people who are now disconnected to feel like something can be different.
Exactly.
I have a question. How did Sylvester Turner choose you to be one of his ladies to work with him?
Oh, you mean how did I get on city council?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me explain how this all works. So when you're a separate elected city council member. So I was elected by 2.3 million people to serve on city council.
But they didn't know you.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
so they had to. They voted for me. So we actually. So this is how it works. So when I first got elected 10 years ago.
Okay.
I ran for an at-large Houston City Council seat. City Council is comprised of 16 people. And each one of those individuals are separately elected by the public. Some of those seats are elected by districts that are comprised of 220,000 people, and others are considered at-large seats, which are comprised about 2.3 million people, the whole city. I ran for an at-large city council position out of the gate.
Okay.
I had not been elected before. My background, just let me give you my background. I grew up in Houston in the 18th Congressional District.
Okay.
Born and raised there, went to Eisenhower, graduated from
You
Eisenhower.
from Inwood?
Yeah.
Okay.
So grew
Go
up.
Bank.
I know Inwood up.
Yeah, down,
Inwood up to no good.
down the street from West Montgomery.
No, they actually call it North Acres Home.
Let's let her finish what she's
Yeah,
talking
go ahead
about.
by that Ike.
We could go on to. We'll have a whole
Yeah.
segment on Eisenhower. So anyway, I grew up in a district, born and raised in a district, and then went off to Emory undergrad, and then went and worked for Congresswoman Jackson Lee in the 18th Congressional District in the D.C. office for the district. And then I went to Harvard for law school. Then I came back. I went to New Orleans after law school and clerked in federal court, started a program for kids there. And then I came back to Houston and started working as what they call a public finance attorney. That means I was bringing public dollars to public projects, whether that was infrastructure, stadiums, you name it, schools, hospitals, just big public projects that need a lot of money. I was the lawyer on those kinds of deals. And so I worked on that. I did that for quite some time. And a lot of those dollars are public dollars in a lot of those examples. And so did that work for a long time, and then ran for city council at large. So when I say at large, I was running at the same time that that at that time he was running for mayor, Sylvester Turner was running. So he ran at the same time as when I ran, and we ended up with more votes than anybody running for the office. So we had more votes than anyone running at the time, so including the mayor's seat. So we ended up getting elected by a very sizable margin, and so people trusted me to get the work done. I had a unique background because I was coming in with a public finance background. So running city, at a city, and especially at that time when the city was having financial problems, that was a good good resume to have in terms of being prepared for the job. Yeah. And so I had that background, and then I also had done a lot of civic work. I used to be board chair at Project Row Houses and just different groups and organizations. So I did a lot of grassroots work, and then I also had this professional background that made me really well suited to serve. So I got in with a lot of support, and that's why I got to work so hard. So I got in doing the tech and innovation stuff, started the same thing for small businesses, for women and minority-owned businesses. They would talk a lot about how Houston was the most diverse city in the nation. One day I said, well, what good is it to be the most diverse if we're not solving the challenges that our diverse communities face? That's the work of equity. So that's when I started doing the work around that. Yeah. Harvey struck. I did a lot of disaster recovery stuff and just around a lot of stuff. So, but the way that it works is that each council member is independently elected to serve. And so in this case, this election for the congressional seat, this seat has been empty for far too long. And I'll get into that in a second. But that seat is comprised of areas inside the city and some areas outside the city. For example, Humble is actually, part of Humble is in Atascocita are actually in the district.
Really?
Yeah, so people don't know that. Some of unincorporated Harris County is in the district too. But it's also got some of the core parts that most people think about, like 3rd Ward and downtown and 5th Ward and Pleasantville and Acres Homes. That's in the district as well.
Yeah, that's definitely show. But to get to some serious questions, so District 18 was home for Barbara Jordan and Sheila Jackson.
Yeah.
What from their legacy will you put into this campaign?
They had to endure a lot. Especially when you think about Barbara Jordan. At that time, how hostile the environment was for a black woman to be coming into Congress from Texas. That was a different ball game. And so the fact that she, a lot of people think of Barbara Jordan and they remark on her oratory skills. She was a powerful speaker, that she was, but she was also somebody who commanded respect and could get things done behind the scenes from across the aisle too. And people don't actually talk about that a lot, but she was a deal maker. I mean, she made things happen. She was good at governing behind the scenes as well. And so I think that part of that I want to carry with me in terms of, you know, I always say it doesn't do anybody any good for me just to give you some rousing campaign speech if nothing changes in your life.
Yeah.
It only matters if I can accompany whatever I'm saying with the change. That's what you need. That's what you need. The transformation of your neighborhood, access to health care, access to economic opportunity, jobs, you know, concrete things can get better.
Right.
And so that's what I'm going to be focused on, those real deliverables. Judge me by the impact I have. And I say that to say she was someone who had both of those things that she could tout, even though one obviously gets more attention than any of it. But I would also say with Congresswoman Jackson Lee, having worked in her office, I saw firsthand, you know, her presence in the community was unmatched.
Yeah.
There's nobody who could outwork Congresswoman Jackson Lee in terms of being in that community. She was going to be on this side of town, next side of town, and find a way to jet set around the country in 2.3 seconds.
Yeah.
She was going to figure it out. And that's you know, she moved with a swiftness and an urgency when it came to engaging and being responsive to the constituents. They expected that of her. She was going to show up at your high school graduation. She was going to show up at your funeral. She was going to show up at the backyard party.
Yeah.
She was going to show up at all of it. And so people are, you know, for 30 years.
They trusted her.
They felt like they knew her. They trusted her. They felt like they knew her.
Yeah.
And so that's how you lead. You have to lead among the people. You can't lead from afar and then people supposed to know you. You know, they don't feel like they know you. They're not connected if you're not showing up, if you don't know their issues, you don't know their name, you don't know about their kids. You know, they want you to know that. And so we've got to have all of those things kind of wrapped up in one.
Yeah. So you
Got to be present.
You plan on taking that same.
Yeah, you got to be
approach?
present. And then at the same time, got to solve the challenges.
Yeah.
And it's heavy right now. We are living in some heavy times.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I got a question. I've always wanted to ask this. How do you handle like the misinformation that's constantly going out online, social media, cable news? And the problem I have with it is that I find myself trying to explain to youngsters, and I'm not hating on them because I started late in politics. You know, you're not thinking about it in your 20s, and you're in your 30s, start getting serious about it. I can't tell you how many young blacks I ran across that either didn't want to vote for Kamala because she ain't really black like us, or my vote don't count, just like we mentioned earlier. And most of it is that they got a lot of misinformation based on something they saw on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so how do you guys deal with that? Because that's very, it's annoying, I'm looking for another word, frustrating to me to talk to them. And I go, okay, I can't talk to you. You know what I'm saying? How do you guys deal with that?
That's an excellent question. It's $1 million question because that is one of the chief reasons that you have Donald Trump in the White House as we speak, is the misinformation on the internet trying to, you know, taint people's perspective into thinking and brainwashing people to feel like it's some kind of way it would be better for your life to stay at home rather than go support Kamala Harris in that instance. And the truth of the matter is, obviously, you may not find her to have been your favorite candidate or your perfect candidate, but there never is a perfect candidate. So if you're waiting for that, we are never going to see participation. And then you're going to continue to see people like Trump emerge. He's the one that's hit, you know, the Republicans and the right. They're putting that propaganda into our communities, and we've got people who are influencers who get paid to spread those messages. Yeah. Let's expose that, right? Like you got some of our favorite rappers and favorite celebrities who get paid as influencers to post certain things on social media. That's not for free. They are monetizing their social influencer status. And then they're utilizing that platform. They see that as business. And meanwhile, you listening to them, they got paid for what they just said. And you're over here who now in a situation, this just happened. In these 10 months since Donald Trump has taken office, let me just talk about one of the things he's done. In the 18 months, and we're going to talk about this too, 18 months that we have been without representation for the 18th Congressional, there's something called a big, beautiful bill.
Yes.
With really nasty impacts got passed. It cut $900 billion from Medicaid, $300 billion from SNAP. People who want graduate student loans are now capped at the amount of loans they can receive. It's just horrific healthcare access. I mean, I can go down the list of all of the bad ways in which this is going to devastate our country. That would not have happened under a Kamala Harris watch.
Exactly.
So those cuts, those limitations, your conditions are being worsened by way of the fact you made a decision to stay at home. It isn't to say that she would have been your perfect ideal candidate and scored 100 on your scorecard, but that is not a realistic measure by which you should be selecting our leadership for our country. You got to make, sometimes you are dealt a hand and you've got to pick what is the better of the two options presented. And it may not be the person with which you align on all, 5 points. People always say, "Oh, I can't have a beer with so-and-so." In real life, are you really going to go have a beer with them? Right. No. What you need them to be able to do is pass policy, be trustworthy, steer this country in the right direction, create opportunity for your family, and as it relates to education, as it relates to economic opportunity, healthcare access, and all of the things I just mentioned are being dismantled by President Trump as we speak. There was something called Project 2025 that existed that people, for whatever reason,
that he claimed he didn't know nothing about.
That he said he didn't know about, he had nothing to do with, let him get away with it. And he's literally using it on a
play-by-play.
Literally play-by-play.
Play-by-play.
Literally.
He's like going down the list.
He's literally going down the list.
Yeah.
Dismantling the Department of Education. Check. He's going down the list. And but we go back to this.
Is his change.
Yeah, he's changing it, but to your it's for it's something that will work to your disadvantage, and that's the thing that people they were able to poke holes at the imperfections of the Democratic Party and the imperfections of a single candidate, but made people forget that this option is far worse for you, and for whatever reason we just gave him a pass. And I don't understand that, and I'm thinking to myself, like, was I the only one here when he was president the first time? Like, why is everybody just giving him a whole pass for the 4 years that he was acting a fool? I mean, it was crazy then, but now Trump 2.0 is far worse.
Oh yeah, no, he has no rails now.
Far worse.
There's no rail. The thing that once again frustrates me is that, like we were just saying, we tend to want to hold our candidates at imperfection level. Well, she did this. They have they ride with their people no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You may have to walk the tightrope, and then meanwhile he's on there saying "motherfucker this," and he using all type of language. And then when you say something, well, her rhetoric was a little strong, and he just called someone an asshole. You know what I'm saying? So we tend to hold our people, and this in life too, to a much, oh no, he got to be this, got to be that, and whoever they vote for can run amok.
Yeah. But this is another thing I wanted to make sure we hone in on and stay on. Is your campaign. You're running for District 18.
Yes.
So in District 18, what's your strategy to bring more federal contracts and trainings to Black and Latinos? Yeah,
so we're in an era right now where the term DEI is truly a bad word.
Okay.
Trump has had it removed from websites. It's now prohibited in terms of having monies being moved in directions where there's DEI support, federal contracting. They're stripping down all of the DEI progress that has been made. And so you've got that combined with this climate of people being afraid of Trump. You're creating a dynamic where you're actually seeing unemployment spike up among Black people because because they're seeing that this is something we better stay away from that. And so people are now in a space that's more of a more dangerous than ever before. I think for us, we don't need to necessarily get into the war of words as much as we need to figure out alternative approaches to getting the same objectives accomplished. So I'll use an example. When I was on city council and they, went into the business of arguing about, and they passed state laws about sanctuary cities and so forth. And they asked us, hey, is Houston a sanctuary city? You know what our response was? I don't know what a sanctuary city is, but we are a welcoming city. And we kept on moving about our business.
Yeah.
We didn't engage that. And so we will find other ways to provide support. We're going to have to push hard. And we're also going to have to change the balance of power, too. That's going to be part of that equation. And so I will be very active in supporting getting resources down to small businesses that could use it. When I started that work around small businesses, women and minority small businesses, at that time, there was a national statistic that minority small businesses were 3 times more likely to get the word no from a traditional bank than their non-minority counterpart back then. And that's crazy. And so you look at how that manifested. Well, in Houston at that time, we found that white-owned small businesses were at $225 billion in sales and receipts, but black-owned small businesses were only at $3.3 billion. And it wasn't because we don't have entrepreneurship. It's not because we don't have storefronts. It's not because we don't have small businesses. We're not pushing the dollars down, lending the dollars so that our small business can thrive and grow and hire people and scale. That's the problem. And so I will be working at ways to get dollars into, as a congressional member, getting dollars in the hands of what's called CDFIs. Those are community development financial institutions. They're different than traditional banking institutions because they lend to women and minority small businesses at greater rates, much greater rates. And so start moving the money in the places that will help to support those communities that are diverse and need equitable outcomes like our community.
Okay. Good. So Houston also struggles with mental health. What would a real federal investment look like?
Expanding the Affordable Care Act to have mental health provisions included in coverage plans. Affordable Care Act, I'm saying, and then also, making that a key part of funding. I mean, your biggest policy statement is always what you are willing to fund.
Well, how can
and what you do.
For it?
Well, Congress is, your job in Congress is fourfold. One, you got constituent response. People call your office. They may have an issue with, a passport. They could have an issue about something going on in with regard to immigration, you name it. That could be an issue you get a call from in your office. You got to deal with the constituent response issues. You also use that office to create policy, right? So you can write bills, you can put amendments in, you can block bills, you can do all that stuff, right? And then you can use that congressional seat as a bully pulpit, right? So you can convene people together, have a press conference, get people's attention and focused on a movement of some sort. And then finally, the other piece is, as a congresswoman, you have access to the purse. So that's federal funding. And so a large part, and when I talk about my background in public finance, is a lot of what you do as a member of Congress is, as they say, bring home the bacon. Yeah. So you are responsible for moving those dollars into your district. So in our case, you count the time from when Congresswoman Jackson Lee got sick and passed, Congressman Turner passing, the delay in the special election, and the runoff that's going to happen that will also be delayed. I'm talking about 18 months that this district has had no vote, no voice, or no one to advocate for the federal funding that needs to come to the district.
Wow.
That's crazy. And you know the phrase, no taxation without representation?
Yep.
Yeah, well, apparently not if you live in the 18th, because y'all being taxed and y'all don't have your representation.
So, and I'm going to piggyback off that. So also, we've seen rising rents and properties in Acres Home and Third Ward. What's your plan to stabilize housing?
Yeah, so great question. When I was on city council, I also served on the board of directors nationally of something called the National League of Cities. So that's an organization that represents all the cities in America. Okay. And I was advocating to prevent something called CDBG dollars from being cut to cities. Those dollars come from the housing department, the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government. And so I advocated to prevent those from being cut. That was under the first Trump administration. And so those dollars are important because they pertain to housing. And a lot of those dollars flow into Houston. They flow into cities. But one of the problems with Houston is that all 650 square miles of us, as much as we have wonderful people, we do not have a comprehensive plan for housing in the city. So what does that mean?
Really?
That means that we have a piecemeal approach to housing. One person might apply for some HUD funding, CDBG dollars here, there. But where is the plan?
Yeah.
What is the overall goal? How many units are we trying to put on the ground? What types of housing? We don't have a plan for that here. And so as a member of Congress, one of the things I'm going to push on doing is trying to get our, places like Houston to have to plan and demonstrate in their planning how they're going to reduce the disparities in affordable housing. When I say affordable housing, I'm also talking about both in terms of rental as well as ownership, because Houston is now actually predominantly a renter's market. Did y'all know that? It used to be a individual home, home ownership, and that was like Houston through and through and through. It's like all these houses everywhere. That's no longer the case.
Yeah, known for decades.
Really?
Yeah, for decades and decades and
decades.
decades and decades and decades, and then that flipped around about 5 years ago. That flipped. So we have a housing crisis for sure. What I would like to do is see those CDBG dollars. Sometimes you got to, connected to the money.
Yeah.
And if you want to see this money, I need to see your plan to reduce this gap in affordable housing.
That's a good one.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so connecting things, and that's kind of how I maneuver. It don't always have to be some big flashy bill. It can be another way to do it is through the funding source and connecting that as a requirement for
Yeah.
it.
We have a few more minutes. So what I want to do is get these last few questions in. So if elected, what are 3 measurable goals you'll deliver within the first 18 months?
Well, first of all, and I haven't even talked about this. I talked about Harvey a little bit, but I mentioned it's been 18 months that you've been without a vote, been without a voice, and you've been without a federal advocate for funding. We are in the middle of hurricane season.
No.
We need funding now.
No.
We need to be preventing people from getting in a position where they have to float around on boats. I say all the time, we can't stop people. We can't stop it from raining, but we certainly can be prepared to catch it when it does.
Yeah. Right.
And being prepared to catch it means infrastructure investment. It's the probably least glamorous topic of all, but it's so critical to keeping people safe. And if you don't make those investments, you see the flooding happening. We've lived through this many times over. And so I would be focused on prioritizing infrastructure investment early stages, because I think I can also get some bipartisan support in that. I have not met a single Republican or Democrat that likes the flood. So I think that's a good starting point in terms of where I could finally get some traction made, some wins for the community, some progress made. So that's 1. 2, when I'm talking about economic opportunity, I talk about those CDFIs and getting the dollars moved for our small businesses. That's another thing. Number 3, healthcare access. We talked about that. Trump has now, and I'm going to use the senior citizen example because under the Biden administration, they finally capped under Medicare how much is going to cost seniors for prescription drugs. And they finally got some of those costs under control. And the first item of business Trump is doing is undoing it. And so you're going to go back to a time where our seniors, they literally will ration their drugs. And they'll say, oh, well, I take my prescription in the morning, but I just do something over the counter at night because I can't do that in my rent. That's horrible.
Yeah.
But that's the society we are creating. So when I think about people, that's what I think about. I say we can't do that to them. We have to do better and be,
I had to do that with my father.
Yeah, people do that.
My father.
People do that all the time.
Yeah,
And
we went there. Real quick.
Yeah.
Literally, my dad had cancer. So they would say, okay, go downstairs and, fill the prescription. And so I go down there and they were like, that'll be $1,300. I'm like, well, give me a week's work. I can't afford the 30 days.
Yeah.
I said, is that even with his Texas Plus? You know how you try to get all the little insurances together? They said, that's with the Texas Plus. So literally, I had to go in my pocket, besides what he had, just to say, give me a week, we'll figure it out. And we'll come back in a couple of weeks because I didn't have enough for a month. And that's how they was giving to you for 30 days at a time. We literally had to say, give me 12 days.
And that's
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And this is our healthcare system for real. This is your example should not be anyone's example. No one should have to say, I can't take, I can't have access to life-saving treatments. No one should have to say that, but people have to say that every day.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, no one definitely needs to experience what you experience. And hopefully when you go in, your leadership will change all that. But I know we have a few minutes. So there's a few questions I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Non-politic questions.
Okay.
One book or quote that keeps you grounded.
You know, I like this book that it's called Starts With Why, and it's by Simon Sinek. And it just connects you back to your mission. And so I think your mission, whatever you're doing, whether you're leading a team, whether your mission in life, however you want to construe that, you need to go back to your why.
Okay.
So I always start with why. With my meetings that I have with my team, I center them back on those people. I said, you know, the what and the how, we can get real into those details, and that's important because that's how you win, or that's how you achieve your goal and this. But why are we fighting? What are we out here for? And it's not just to elect me. We're fighting for them. We want a community where everybody in it can thrive. We don't want people just having to get by day to day. That's not good enough. We want them to thrive, and I believe that's possible. If you have the right policy, if you have the right leadership, you can create a community where everybody can thrive. Everybody.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
running for mayor, would you ever
Did I what?
Would you ever consider running for mayor?
I did. Well, I was in the. Well, do you want me to go through the path?
No. Obviously, you didn't get his vote.
You didn't get his vote.
Well, I didn't get on. So I'm gonna have to, now that there's confusion entered. Let me explain.
What about now?
So I was a front runner in the mayor's race of Houston, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee decided that she wanted to come home and serve as mayor.
Okay.
So then I pivoted from the mayoral race into the 18th Congressional District race.
Yes.
And so I was on, but I never made it I never got on the ballot for the mayoral position. So this was far before the ballot and all that stuff. So she got in early enough where I did not file for mayor, but I had started my campaign. And then I pivoted into the 18th Congressional District race. I was the front runner in the race.
Okay.
And then when Congresswoman Jackson Lee did not win the mayor's race, she decided to refile for the 18th race and then beat me in the primary in March of 24. And then she had her pancreatic cancer diagnosis within just 3 months after, and then she passed away a few weeks after that. And so once that occurred, then the party had to make a selection, and Congressman Sylvester Turner and I were 1 vote apart on the first round and 4 votes apart on the final. And so he became the congressman by 4 votes, in that contest. I mean, he had to go through the election after that. And then he died 7 weeks into the term. So the seat became empty again.
And been empty.
And so it's been empty ever since. So when I talk about the 18-month period, I'm not just talking about this time since March. I'm also talking about the time since Congresswoman passed away as well, because these folks have not had representation during those months.
Right.
And so a lot of them, are frustrated. A lot of them are sad. A lot of them feel a lot of things. And with that redistricting that just occurred, that even makes it worse, just in terms of the level of confusion. And so I hope people know I just voted. You can go vote from October 20th to the 31st, and then November 4th is election day as well. But please go vote. Also, understand this. I'm going in to serve the unexpired portion of the term that Sylvester Turner was serving. So that means it'll be about a year once I get sworn in January. Okay. And so there's probably going to be a runoff. This is what I'm anticipating. So then once I get in the seat, that'll be about a year of service, not a full 2-year term, because this is to serve the rest of his term. And so that being said, it's the same boundaries, the original boundaries he had. So if you were able to vote in 2024 in the 18th Congressional District, you can vote in 25. That's what we want people to know, is that you can vote. Whatever you did in 24 is what you can do in 25. Those new maps and all the stuff everybody's hearing about in the news, while that did happen, it's not applicable yet. It doesn't apply until the midterm in 26.
Okay.
So real quick.
Yes.
One question. What's your favorite restaurant or small business you love to support?
Ooh, I like to support a lot of them. I don't have
Just
a
name
favorite.
one. Just give us one.
Oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Don't do that.
You might get in trouble.
Don't let him lead you down that path.
This is favorite restaurant.
I love a lot of restaurants. I love my.
She goes somewhere to get some food. Now
love
you don't like us. Get on out.
Y'all trying to get me kicked out. I feature
Now
a
you gotta start
lot of.
cooking.
I feature a lot of small businesses on my social media. We go to different small businesses, so we've gone to places like Day 9 Coffee downtown. They have good matcha. I've been to Doshi House with good matcha latte. I've gone to, we went to Rado. We've gone to a lot of different little eateries and stuff around. So I can't say I have a favorite. Went to Irma's as well.
That's enough. Don't answer no more. He trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah, no, we're not going to answer one.
He done this on
And then
several
we've
shows.
done barbecue.
Okay.
I mean, we go around. We do a lot of little small business features. So I'm going to have to say I love them all.
Okay, good.
All of the ones in the 18th. How
There
about
you
that?
go. That's great. Well, we appreciate you, Amanda,
Thank
for
you.
coming on to the Al Rucker Show with myself,
Thank you.
Dave Lawson, and comedian Grossman. And good luck in the race.
Thank you so much.
Good
I
luck.
appreciate you having me on.
No problem.
Very, very informative.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Thank you.
He told me to shut up, so I ain't gonna.
The